Good afternoon. My name is Roy Biondi. I'm the publisher at Courier Communications. Just want to welcome everybody to this fabulous event, and I'm sure everyone will really enjoy this. It is by far the best event that I'm involved with, and I know the Courier is involved with. We really appreciate you taking the time out today to be here. Wanted to welcome everybody. This is our 9th edition of the 8 over 80 award ceremony. If you're new to this event, you're in for a treat. You will hear stories of 8 remarkable people who are being honored for their legacies that they have created in the Cedar Valley. Thank you for attending and honoring these wonderful people here today. I'm sure it means as much to them that you are here as it does them being honored. These are special individuals who have demonstrated a lifetime of leadership, a strong sense of community pride, and a focus on service in the Cedar Valley. The Courier began this award event because we felt there was a void in this community for this event. We already run an event honoring young people in our 20 under 40. But this one honors those that are leaving a legacy, and we couldn't be more proud to be a part of it. In today's ceremony, you will hear about these remarkable community leaders and hear from them in their own words. This year is special. This year is a special one because we are honoring a man who couldn't be here today. We are proud to give his family this special day to remember him. The Courier would like to recognize the most important sponsors of today's event. First, our key partner in this program, Chris Hansen, CEO, and the team at Western Home Communities. You will hear from Chris in a minute. Also, thanks to our other 2 great sponsors, Kay England, President and CEO of the Community Foundation in Northeast Iowa, and Michaela Vandersea, Executive Director of Cedar Valley Hospice. Let's give them a hand. We'd also like to thank, and as publishers of the Cedar Valley Business Monthly, we'd also like to thank our magazine sponsored for their continued support. The University of Northern Iowa, Community Bank and Trust, Hawkeye Community College, Lockard Communities Companies, and Upper Iowa University. We'd also like to thank our table sponsor, Friendship Village. Let's give all them a hand. This is my 2nd year for being at this event, and it's quite remarkable seeing what it's actually turned out to be a reunion for many people here. So I really enjoy being here, and really thank you for taking the time out today. Now I'd like to bring up Chris Hansen from Western Home to say a few words of welcome and maybe give us a few words about this fabulous facility.
Thanks, Roy. Appreciate that. Well, what I'd first like to do is welcome you to the Diamond Event Center at Jorgensen Plaza on Western Home Communities South Campus. It's pretty special that one of our inaugural events is the 8 over 80. I don't know how we could do that much better. And what you're doing here right now is exactly what this building is for, and especially this room is for. This is where we really want to interface with the greater community. You know, we do what we do at Western Home Communities. It's been pretty interesting that ever since Prairie Parkway has gone in, the number of folks that have said, wow, we had no idea what you were doing out there. And it's just really evolved. But that is exactly what we're here for. We want to have the community, the whole community, interface with our community here. And that is the real goal of the Diamond Event Center. My understanding is that we have weddings all the way through the end of October. already planned. We've had a number of events already, but again, it's very special to have the 8 over 80 event here. With that, I'd like to bring Nancy up, I think. There you are. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Thank you, Chris. Well, good afternoon. I am Nancy Newhoff. I'm editor of the Courier, and I have the great honor today of announcing our 8 over 80 recipients. This is one of my most favorite projects of the year, and I'm humbled to again be in the presence of another great group. And I do think this is a wonderful setting to have this event in. Before we begin, let's take a moment to remember our 8 over 80 recipients who are no longer with us, especially Pauline Barrett, Irene Stout, and Marv Walston, who we lost in the past year. I'd like to bring up Pastor Tim Butker from Western Home Communities to provide us a prayer for this moment. Tim?
Thank you very much, Nancy. You know, this is my fourth year in a row at this, and I got to tell you, the thing that I get most out of this event is just the inspiration of life well lived. And it's really a joy to be a part of that and see that and be sort of inspired every year with that. And I think this year is going to do just the same. And we do like to say a word of prayer. It's nice to have everybody in this place. And Chris mentioned a number of things that happen here in the Diamond Event Center. I would just mention we do a nice worship service in here on Sunday morning at 10:30 if you're ever looking for a place to worship. And really an encouraging, refreshing time of worship we have here. So we want to give thanks to the Lord for those that have gone before us, on whom shoulders we stand. And so let's take a moment, shall we, to pray. Heavenly Father, we pause for a moment before you and acknowledge your presence among us today and thank you for it. We thank you for the gift of life and the years that you give us to live. We understand and we read in your word that how we live those lives before you is our act of stewardship. And today we're celebrating again, and as we have in past years, celebrating those who have lived their lives well and added significant value to the world and to others' lives. And we thank you for them and praise you for them and ask that those that have gone before and passed on this last year, you would be with their families as they walk through that time. And then those that we honor and celebrate today would sense a sense of joy and pleasure and honor. And their families would be celebrating. Thank you for the grace that you give us over time. We thank you as well for this great country we live in, the freedoms we enjoy, and this great community that we have, and the opportunity we have to support and encourage each other in life. We thank you for this space that we're in and the nice amenities we have and the food we've received, and we praise you for it. And most of all, we thank you for the gift of your Son, Jesus, in whom we have the hope of everlasting life. In his name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Tim. It's time to honor 8 wonderful people who are very deserving of this honor to be called the 2018 8 over 80 recipients. Sit back and listen to their wonderful stories and hear in their own words how they have approached life in a way that shows why they were selected. In many cases, the recipients are so humble that they don't believe they're deserving of the award, but seeing those that came here today to honor them is a testament to what they have meant to this community. Congratulations to all of them. Our hope is you will leave here today with a sense of pride and purpose as we learn about these 8. This process begins in February as we put out a call for nominations. We're seeking people who demonstrate leadership, continue now or in the past to the betterment of the community, often behind the scenes. Those who continue to be a success and or have been or are a role model mentor to others. These 8 were selected by a committee of area leaders who sifted through more than 100 nominations for nearly 70 different people to come up with our recipients. I sat through the selection process and know how much thought and time went into selecting these 8. I would like to recognize the selection committee. Please stand if you're here. Rosemary Beach, a past recipient. Joe Vick, a retired banker. Bob Brown, a past winner. And Elaine Eschba, an associate professor of gerontology and family studies at the University of Northern Iowa. Thank you for your service. This year's pictures and videos, for the most part, were taken at UNI's Gallagher Bluedorn Performing Arts Center. Thank you to UNI for allowing us the time and freedom to use the building this year. Let's get to it. I have Roy and Sheila Kearns from Cedar Valley Business Monthly here to help me hand out awards. I will give a brief introduction to each winner, and then we will roll a short video. The recipients or a representative will then come forward to say a few words if they like. I encourage you to please read the stories in the July issue of the Cedar Valley Business Monthly on each of them, and we will begin reprinting these stories in the Courier on Monday. Our first recipient, unfortunately, cannot be with us here today. Marv Walston, 88, passed away May 7th after a battle with lung cancer. We were able to tell Marv he was a recipient, and we were able to sit down with Marv for a picture, a video interview, and a print interview in April. I can tell you he was thrilled to be nominated, and we are thrilled to honor him. We received so many nominations on his behalf. People said of him that he was a civic and philanthropic leader for many Waverly nonprofits, including St. Mary's Church. He supported fundraising for a new library and served on the Wartburg Symphony Board. He was one of Wartburg College's biggest supporters, serving as longtime president of the Wartburg Athletic Booster Club. He had a smile for everyone and an enthusiasm for life and helping others. Marv did not grow up in Waverly. It was a community he adopted after moving here 43 years ago to take over an insurance agency. But his love for Waverly was evident. He helped fund a new football stadium at Wartburg, had an annual Rotary Oktoberfest fundraiser, as well as his own wild game feed that was meant to bring people together. One recipient said he had a heart of gold and was always lifting others up. He was a true champion for Waverly and the Cedar Valley and an instrumental part of Waverly's growth. Marv's advice to others: don't be afraid to stick a toe in the water and try to help. It will help shape who you become.
I had a partner for 10 years, Don Dandy, who was just a complete gentleman and a scholar, and we got along famously, and two people in business together don't usually do that, but we never had, I don't think we ever had an argument. So it's unbelievable. Kind of thing like that makes you feel good. Yeah. I guess being able to make the step and go ahead and come into a community and make things happen, because I felt good about that. And I think that people I dealt with felt the same way, because they responded well. And it works out good when you can not be afraid to go ahead and do something. Too many people are afraid to get involved, and it's just all you have to do is go out there and get in the picture.
Marv Walston, speaking on his behalf, will be his son, Dave.
I'm sure Marv would have really, I'm sorry that he couldn't be here for this. He would have really loved this. He would have really enjoyed it all. He wanted to let me know, to let other people know, he appreciated the nominations that he had. He wanted to thank the Courier for presenting his story in the paper. And he wanted to let everybody know he couldn't do this by himself. He was very appreciative of all the support that he received. Community is a big thing. It means a lot. And it's different throughout the world. But everybody will recognize that through love, support, and what we do for others will make the community matter. And I want to thank all of you in here in the room that Marv and I appreciate everything that you all do to make the community matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Our next recipient is a historian and the longtime general manager of Waterloo Waterworks. At age 83, he's still going strong as a history speaker and woodworker. He makes beautiful furniture and contributes children's toys, clocks, vases, and other items to different children's groups in this community. And his displays can be seen at National Cattle Congress. Born in West Union and an Army vet, he worked at Waterloo Waterworks from 1971 until retiring as general manager in 2001. He has been active in numerous water associations, including a charter member of the Iowa Groundwater Association, but keeps active with other nonprofits such as Salvation Army and the Cedar Valley Woodworkers Association. He's now preparing a book on the history of the waterworks. He told us, "I like to be a plus to Waterloo, to try to make it a better community and do what little I can."
I think one of the things that I'm most proud of is that the waterworks met the needs of the community at a time when there was specific growth, and we did it with what appeared to be pretty easy, but it wasn't. We had to lay a lot of water main for instance, the John Deere engine plant, which was far out to the southwest, and then the northeast site far out to the other side, and the IBP plant. We had big projects of large pipe and a lot of money, and we met those needs of the community with what might appear to people to be pretty easy, but it wasn't. It was quite a difficult job, but it was a good addition to the community, for sure.
Hi, Reed.
Well, I want to thank those who were on the selection committee and those who said some nice things about me that the selection committee considered. I'm kind of amazed at being honored this way. I always thought I was just doing what I was supposed to do. So thank you very much.
I've got a package for you there. Our next recipient received an enormous number of nominations. She's been described as a natural role model mentor, a listener, a doer, a teacher, and a leader. At age 81, she was a longtime teacher at Price Lab School and then became a professor teaching future teachers in the Department of Education at the University of Northern Iowa. She served on boards and committees that set standards in the math and science teaching community. She's been active in supporting UNI foundations and athletics. Since retiring, she's been active in Sartori's Festival of Trees, the Waterloo Cedar Falls Symphony, the Cedar Falls Library, active in her church, and the Women in Philanthropy Group, PEO, and Tuesday Club, all devoted to helping those less fortunate. One recipient said of her, "Through her enthusiasm and her asking others to help, she's influenced and increased participation in many activities, thus helping to create a foundation and ongoing support. She not only has accomplished much, she has encouraged and enabled others to do likewise." She's a native of Olwine who came to the area to attend college, left for a while, and then returned to be at Price Lab. She says of herself, "Part of living past 80 is giving back to all of those who made your life wonderful."
I think teaching was my passion from the time I was a little child, and I was never disappointed in my whole life. I taught in 3 different school districts, and with each one I learned more than I think I gave to them. It's amazing how much you can absorb, especially when I was at the lab school, and there was such open sharing, people coming in, team teaching, working together. You always learn strategies that will work with children. I loved teaching. The other day I had my physical. with my doctor. And as typical, the doctor said, "Have you fallen lately?" That's always the first question. I said, "No." And then the second question was, "Have you been depressed?" And she looked at me and she said, "You probably don't have time for that, do you?" And I think that is what makes volunteering so enjoyable. You have all these new people, you're building relationships, and it just keeps you wanting to live.
You should always start by thanking everyone who has been very instrumental in your life. I have my family here, I have some relatives, and as I look across the room, I thank all of my friends for coming and all of the support they have given me over the years. But probably something that just happened reminded me of a very important story. My grandson just kind of told his mother, I need to leave the room in a few minutes. It reminded me of a student that I'm going to call Jimmy. Or maybe I should call him Jaddy, because that's my grandson. But this is just a make-believe story. Okay. Jimmy taught me a lesson that I took from teaching into the community. He kind of wrote his own lesson plans. You know, I had mine, he had his. And within the first month, I learned a lot from him. You see, if he put his hand up like this and kind of went like this, it meant he was going to talk, no matter who else was talking or what else was going on. And so it'd go like this. "Can I go to the bathroom, Mrs. Dewey?" "No." "No, not now. No." "Can I go out to my locker? I think I might find something in my locker." "No, not now. We're working on reading. You stay in your seat." Mrs. Dewey, I need a drink of water, and I need it now." Now, you know, if one child needs a drink of water, what about the other 27? Yeah, that's Jimmy. Well, I was walking home from school one day after we had had a number of interruptions, and I just hadn't found the right way to get him to play with my lesson plans instead of his. And I kept thinking, I only had a block to go, but I kept thinking, I'm going to do something about this because my classroom was becoming negative. And it wasn't just Jimmy, it was everyone, including some of my students that are here right now that are all grown up and everything. And it really bothered me. It really bothered me. And I promised myself the next day that I would not use no. I would not use no. When he came in, after he got off the playground, I stopped him in the kind of the hallway and I said, "Look in your locker, make sure you have everything you need. Make sure that there's nothing you need." And then as he walked around, there was a drinking fountain. I said, Jimmy, Jaddy, come have a drink of water. Have another drink. Make sure you aren't going to be thirsty. We go in a little bit further. A pencil sharpener. Oh, he loved pencil sharpeners. That was always a good excuse. And so I said, grab your pencils, sharpen them right now. This is a good time. Well, we went along. Everything was going along pretty good. "Mrs. Dewey, I've got to use the bathroom right now." I said, "Yes, in 22 minutes. And he said, "Okay." Jaddy, did you just use the restroom? That's what reminded me of this. When you go out into a workplace, whether it's a classroom of learning or whether it's a business or whether it's a board meeting, may you take positivity with you and not be a negative person. Thank you.
Congratulations. And our next recipient has a long list of accomplishments. At age 85, she's an Army veteran who continues to work hard to advocate for services for African American military women. She's a co-founder of the Sister Soldier Network, and co-founder of the Cedar Valley Coalition of Black Veterans. She's past president of the Adlo Ho Club, which works for the advancement of African American women and has fundraised for numerous groups. It is clear if the cause is near to her heart, be it veterans, civil rights, children, or education, she's headstrong to make it better. She feels what she does is not service, but just good citizenship. She's a native of Chicago who came to Waterloo as a child, graduated from Waterloo East and attended Iowa State Teachers College, but left to join the Women's Army Corps, an active duty branch of the U.S. Army. The experience serving at a base in Georgia exposed her to segregation for the first time, where life outside the base was very different for her than her fellow white soldiers. Back in the Cedar Valley, she raised a family and got involved in many boards and associations, but her advocating for minority female veterans remains strong. Women of color are suffering, she said, from post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's often not treated. If there's one thing I can do, it's that I want to bring visibility to that.
I've really been an introvert, very shy growing up, an only child. And I've been in situations where I could go and come and nobody would know I was there. And I said to myself, I don't want to be like that anymore. And so I began to introduce myself to people when I was in a place that I'd never been before. And those things, when you put yourself out, things kind of come to you, I think, when you put yourself out there. And I found myself in organizations. I had children, so I was in the PTA and that kind of thing. And when you become active, and then I think one thing kind of leads to another. The things that you care about or that you're interested in, if you express an interest, sometimes people just pick up on it and you kind of run with it. You know, I think that's kind of how I got involved. Find something that you're really interested in and that you care about, and that helps to keep you active.
Good afternoon. I feel like the Academy Awards. Like, oh, gee. And with that, then I need to do what they do. I thank God for putting me where I am. And I thank my family, because everything I've gotten involved in, they have too. Because then they say, Mom, what are you doing? Because they know whatever it is I'm doing, they're going to have to do it with me. And so I want to thank them, my extended family that's here, my neighbors, my children, for whom I could not be without. And all of my friends, Bob Brown, who nominated me for this. I couldn't believe it when he called, and he said, well, this is something I'd like you to do. And I said, well, he said, well, can I come interview? And he did. And I said, I'll never be selected, so okay. But I do thank all of you for the recognition. I do not feel I deserve it. I've only done what I've been called to do, what God has led me to do. I want to continue to live the rest of my life doing what God wants me to do, to be a friend to everybody, to love each other as we love ourselves, and to continue to do the best I can for as long as I can. Thank you.
Our next recipient at age 80 might be small in stature, but she is mighty in her command of a room. I officially met Judy in April, but I have seen her around at many local events, including her running of the Cedar Basin Jazz Festival at New Aldea, where I would take my parents to listen to Dixieland. I marveled at her from afar, and I marvel at her still. She has energy, a quick wit, and is organized. She was a longtime professor at the University of Northern Iowa's Speech Language Pathology Department, where she was a leader in the department and in the university governance. She found time to hold many of the top governance offices and work closely with the Board of Regents. She came to Iowa via New Jersey, Boston University, and Rochester, New York, and stayed after getting her doctorate at the University of Iowa. Outside the university, she's been involved in, take a breath, Cedar Falls Cable TV, Cedar Falls Human Rights Commission, the Jazz Festival, Sartori Memorial Hospital, Cedar Falls Community Theater, the Historical Society, the Tourism Board, and many other groups. One nominator said she puts her heart and soul into everything she does. Her philosophy is stand up and be counted rather than expect someone else to get things done.
In my case, I was very active before I retired. And so when I retired, it wasn't a matter of, I'm going to be so bored. It was just, what can I do now? And so I added to my volunteerism, shifted some things around, and it became much harder to say no because I no longer could say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm working. And so I had to learn to actually back off some of my volunteering to give myself just days breaks at a time. To me, volunteering is what enriches a community. Volunteers can do for the community what the community can't afford to pay for itself. And we make the community a happier place for people to be.
Congratulations.
Wow. My congratulations to all the other recipients, your families and friends, and my deep, deep gratitude to Nancy Newhoff and your staff members, Lisa Boland, Amy Steffen, and Matthew Putney, for your gracious support as I came to grips with this remarkable honor. As some of you already know, I had tried to let my 80th birthday fly under the radar. I wanted no tribute except from my family and maybe close friends who might remember. But with the persistence of a former colleague, I finally agreed to be nominated. And just like Lorraine said, I knew full well I wasn't qualified and I would never receive this prestigious award. So much for what I know. In addition to the public recognition by the Courier, receiving this distinction has brought me joy I never anticipated. Kind, enthusiastic support from family, former students, colleagues, and dear friends, some of whom are present today. I thank you all beyond words. My parents, Samuel and Dorothy Finkel, were first-generation Americans, born to parents who had escaped from Jewish pogroms in Russia and Poland in the 1800s. I was born and raised in New Jersey, fully expecting to spend my entire life on the East Coast. Once again, what did I know? My mother insisted that I embrace the gift of education. She demanded excellence and made more than one trip to my grammar and high schools when my behavior was wanting. She also appreciated philanthropy. We had no money, but we could give of ourselves in time and energy. In other words, we could volunteer. As many in this room know, there's no drudgery in volunteering. Rather, we serve joyfully. Thus, starting well before my retirement from my devotion to the University of Northern Iowa and our community, I volunteered where I thought I could assist in responding to needs, paying back, so to speak, for all I've been given. Just one example. My father was a traveling musician during much of my childhood and teen years. And in his memory, these past 30 years or so, I volunteered to assist all the musicians traveling here to perform for this. Shall we do that again? I volunteered to assist all the musicians traveling here to perform for the Cedar Basin Music Festival, formerly known as the Cedar Basin Jazz Festival. Moving to Cedar Falls to teach at then SCI was only going to be a 2 or 3 year detour in my life at most. Well, yet again, one more time, what did I know? Following my retirement from UNI 38 years later, my East Coast family fully expected me to move back home. But I don't need to move to be home. Cedar Falls, the Cedar Valley, is my home. Thank you so very much.
Nice job. Congratulations. Our next recipient has a long history of commitment to the Cedar Valley. From his success story of building a strong family business from scratch to being known for his immense generosity, Jim has a passion and enthusiasm for everything he does. At age 80, he is passionate about his family, friends, employees, and the Cedar Valley community. Jim's vision to start Mud Advertising and grow it to a nationally recognized leader in the full-service marketing area can be directly tied to his leadership, passion, and his long-term commitment to the area. Mud Advertising was started in his basement with his primary clients, auto dealerships. That one-man operation is now a company that resides in a 36,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility, has more than 150 employees, and serves more than 4,000 clients worldwide. His philanthropy has benefited the UNI Foundation, St. Vincent de Paul, Covenant Foundation, the Northeast Iowa Food Bank, Sturgis Falls Celebration, St. Patrick's Church, and the St. Stephen's Catholic Student Center at UNI. But there's also the Boys and Girls Clubs, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Magical Mix Kids, the College Hill Arts Festival, and the American Heart Association. He humbly says that God gets all the credit for his success. Quote, "On so many occasions, things have occurred that were not happenstance. He guided me somehow with his inspiration and love."
You've heard that saying that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It's a pretty good way to live your life, thinking of others, being a steward leadership, maintaining a positive outlook for people and all concerned, and try to lift people up. And show results. We need to be resourceful and available. Those things are necessary in order, in my judgment, to be successful, is that you have to be outward thinking rather than inward thinking. The more that we think about the goals of others and the needs of others and the service that we can give to others, the farther down the road we travel, and the better we do. That's the one I wrote. I wrote a speech for you because if I ad-libbed like these other nice people did, we'd be here till 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon. Nobody wants to do that. So I say to you, good afternoon, and thanks for being here. It's an honor to be with you. And I'm deeply grateful to be in this distinguished group today. Success is defined as the accomplishment of an aim or purpose. I determined many years ago that my purpose was to be a good example of a man who honored God by following Jesus. I haven't done that perfectly, but having that goal gave me a perspective that changed everything in my life. and stretched me to think and act differently. This perspective not only shapes who I am, but what I do. For me, there are 3 words that help define success: commitment, character, and community. Commitment means being dedicated to a cause or a person and doing what I say I will do toward that cause or person. Making commitments and keeping them has been an important part of my life. After my faith, the most important choice I made was my life partner, Cecilia. She's been a partner in everything I have done, and even now makes me better than I would be without her. I became we in everything. Cecilia and I dedicated early in our marriage that we wanted a marriage that honored God. We understood the marriage sacrament as a promise to each other and to Him. We knew that honoring Him meant that we also honored each other. We, of course, didn't do that perfectly either. We always tried to at least, patience, kindness to each other. A practical example of patience and kindness is listening to each other. I remember one particular situation when I got so upset with one of our sons, who happens to be here, that I fired him. I went home, told Cecilia what I had done, and she informed me that I'd hire him back right away. I did. And he's here to prove it. In marriage, we learned how to love deeply and serve each other, a commitment that does not end when trouble or sickness comes. It is a commitment for a lifetime. Character is who we are in all that we do. I worked for 25 years in the radio industry. And when that industry fell on tough times, I had to sell the company. I was discouraged and saddened about my company. And at first, working in the basement of our home, not knowing what would come next. I had a friend who asked me to manage his car dealerships, campaigns, ad campaigns. As I continued in my position, I started to manage ad campaigns for other dealerships as well. I was reminded in those days that I was still a child of God, and He'd made me into who I was. I wasn't just a radio guy. I was determined I'd have who I would live out who I was, even in those hard days. Character will determine how we behave when things are going really well and when things are going very bad. We hope for success and plan things that we think will make us happy, but not looking back, I see that it is the most difficult places that character becomes tightly formed in us, preparing us for life's journey. Our company continues to grow, and we are deeply blessed that we live and work here and have been able to contribute in some ways to this community. A community is important to success. We don't do life alone. Being others-centered must be part of success. My life journey would be nothing if I had not been able to share it with others, with Cecilia, my children, and many of you. At our company, we often say, we love it when you succeed. We've learned you can't have success unless you help others succeed. Community is formed when a group of people stand together to help each other accomplish a goal, but who always are supportive and loving. Even babies cry when I speak. In fact, we are told in Scripture how to grow community. Love each other, forgive each other, encourage each other, pray for one another, bear each other's burdens. Community grows generous hearts as we care for each other. Community produces a safe place for people to develop character and grow commitments. Success truly comes when those who know you love and respect you the most. I treasure this community. Thank you for this recognition.
They got something there for you. Our next recipient has a large group of people here supporting her. Most of her work does not have her name on it. Much of it is behind the scenes, and that's the way she likes it. Celine Racker has been a leader in education and youth programming in this community. Her never-ending support of youth has left its mark on many places. She feels every child has potential, and her mission often is to try and tap that potential. She has helped kids who couldn't afford to attend junior high dances. She's been a youth chaperone. One nominator called her a positive role model for all ages. She inspires others through her philanthropy, the nominator said, readily encouraging and continues to have compassion for youth as she did when she first entered the education field. She's been a president of the Lou Henry Hoover branch of Quester International, which sponsors a writing contest that promotes Lou Henry and U.S. history. She helped start a little-known group that involves local women pooling money to help those who fall through the cracks or need a hand up. That group has quietly given $200,000 to help others in desperate situations. She says of herself, "I have received much more than I have ever given by volunteering. I would never be the woman I am today without it."
My mother would help so many people that no one really knew about. Then volunteering wasn't a thing. I remember her going to people's homes and bringing them food or sewing for them. She sewed for a lot of people. Well, I think when you grow up in an environment that is outreaching and giving and thinking of other people, that's a gift you take from that growing up period. I know in the schools now, they're getting them to do volunteer things like make cards for Friendship Village. That's just such a little thing, but it's giving, and the children are learning about giving. When they receive a note back thanking them from Friendship Village, it makes them happy. The best learning in my life has been from teenagers and children. And I want to always continue to learn. And so if I want to continue to learn, I better still be with teenagers and young people.
Speaking on her behalf today will be her son, Steve. Celine's over here.
Thank you. My mom would like to thank all of you very much for honoring her today. Someone recently asked her when she first started volunteering in the community, and she thought back to her first year at the Iowa State Teachers College when she was given a list of volunteer opportunities to choose from for a class requirement. She chose the Waterloo Boys and Girls Club, where she spent many hours playing pool with 6, 7, and 8-year-olds. Now, they were all too short to really reach the table and play an effective game of pool, so her boyfriend at the time, later her husband Jim, made 3 little stools so the children would be able to better reach the pool table and make better shots. That experience was the start of a lifelong love of working with children and volunteering. She found that, as it said in the video, that the more she's given, the more joy that she has received. She recently came across a quote from Barbara Bush and thought it was very fitting for this occasion. Some people give time, some money, some their skills and connections, some literally give their life's blood, but everyone has something to give. This room is full of people who have given in many ways to make the Cedar Valley a wonderful place to call home. She is humbled and honored by your recognition today and for being one of these people. And she thanks you very much.
Thaleen Racker. Our last recipient defies her age. At 88, Marianne Waldstein remains active, sharp-witted, and as involved as ever. She's a retired educator, but she's still active in the classroom. She grew up in Storm Lake with parents who emigrated from Germany during World War I. She and her husband moved to Waverly in 1999 with their son Fred, who was at Wartburg College. She then got involved in the Community Builders Project developed by Fred, pairing college students with Waverly Shell Rock 7th graders to practice skills to improve and engage their community. She's a founding member of the Cedar River Readers, a nonprofit theater group in connection with the Waverly Public Library that reads and performs literature to schools and community groups. And she's a classroom volunteer at St. Paul's Lutheran School in Waverly. And there's so much more. She admits she needs her calendar close by to keep her up on all she does. She's been described as a beautiful, passionate, active, and outgoing woman and an inspiration to others. Her advice to others her age? Keep your old friends. They are absolutely wonderful, but be sure to include young friends. It gives you a spark. And I have a surprise for her today. The state of Illinois has made a proclamation in the House of Representatives to Marianne Waldstein in recognition to the state of Iowa for 8 over 80 for her tireless work as a volunteer in her community, and joins in this commemoration in the effort, dedication, and hard work that led to the success, and further expresses its best wish for personal happiness and professional achievement.
When the children were in PTA, we were PTA parents and so forth. I think since my parents came from Germany, and my dad was always said, be a good American and get involved in things, and I think we've just kind of always had done that. The more people you know, the more things you do, and I love people, and I wouldn't want to sit home and be alone. I love people. I lost my husband 4 years ago. And so this has been a godsend to be involved in things with other people. And I know he would want me to keep on doing that. So always be involved and try to be with younger people too. That's really nice. Not just the old folks, you know. And because they add so much vigor and vitality to your life, and you have lots of fun with them, and you just need to stay involved.
I'm going to keep this. I'll give this back to you in a second. Oh.
And my friends made this for me. Oh my goodness. I want to thank the Courier for recognizing the many achievements of all these wonderful people. I would like to get to know all of you better, all of you 8 over 80s. And I'm 88, so that works, 8 over 80. It's just, I hardly know what to say. From my German immigrant parents that taught us to love this country and to do what you can for other people, and raising a family and serving as a teacher, which I loved and I'm still doing, working with children, and relocating from Storm Lake to Waverly nearly 20 years ago now has been just a wonderful experience. Wonderful people in the Cedar Valley here. And doing service for others has been a constant in my life. With my dear departed husband of 4 years, he was so supportive of everything I did. And my family was too. Where are you going today, Mom? Or what are you going to do? And they all tolerated my volunteering. Thanks to my son Fred and Edie, who are here from Waverly, my son Mark and his friend Diane from Chicago. My daughter Elizabeth in New York couldn't be here, or my son in Massachusetts. It just didn't work for them, and they sent their good wishes. I'd like to thank my wonderful friends. I'd even like to have you stand. They're from the Cedar River Readers, and from Community Builders, and from St. Paul's School, and my PEO friends, and American Legion, all these people. And they really keep me going. They're so fun. And I humbly accept this honor. Thank you so much.
I'll give this back to you in a minute, okay?
Pardon?
I'll give this. Let's have one more round of applause for all of our winners. We're almost done. I do a couple things. A quick note that today's program will be shown several times on Cedar Falls Community TV beginning Monday at 8 p.m. There are plans to rerun it 8 more times. Many of you have been with us before as we celebrate the legacy of these individuals that have made a difference. Some of you are first-timers and may wonder what we've been giving them in this sack as their token of appreciation. When we first started the program, we wondered what would be a good memory of the day. We took a lesson from their playbook and do what they would do. We give back to the community. In 2010, we started the Courier 8/80 Legacy Fund at the Community Foundation of Northeast Iowa, honoring each individual. What has been the result? Each year, we receive a number of thank you notes from organizations that have benefited from this fund. A wide variety of community needs are met with this wonderful testament of the work that we have honored with the 8/80. In addition to the contribution in their name, we also provide them a memory of today. Each recipient will receive a video courtesy of CFU Cable, along with a neat front page that we've put together. If anybody would like to contribute to that legacy fund too, you're welcome to do that. I would also wanted to mention that we do have copies of our Cedar Valley's history memory books out front if anybody would like to pick up a copy of those while you're here today. But I am honored and humbled to stand before these who've made significant contributions to our community. The Courier thanks all of you for coming today to honor these honorees. Thank you.